poles, and I'm carrying my full pack, although, I've eaten a decent amount of food by this point. But still full pack up Marcy. That's a tough climb. But, so I got to Marcy at like 6:46, standing on the summit. And, I've done Marcy twice before. It's, I'm sure it's cliche, but it's definitely my top three of the high peaks. Just, that view, being above tree line, like it's really just really special.
Absolutely. I agree.
And yeah, so, I remember just stopping for a minute. Marcy Summit is the only place that I took a picture of that wasn't just a picture of me like recording that I was standing on the summit the entire time. I took like a landscape photo of the sun going down.
Cool.
Over, I'm trying to think of what west is from Mars. So like, I guess it's like over kind of behind skylight is that angle. But yeah, so I took a photo. I indulged and took a photo on the summit of Marcy. Then down.
That's why you didn't make it in 4 days, because you took that picture on Marcy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's why.
So yeah, then down Marcy. Like I've said, descending is the toughest for me at this point. And heading over to Haystack, I remember being really kind of pissed off that, because I'd never actually done this. The last time I had done Marcy to Haystack, I went kind of the long way, which is all the way down to Panther Gorge and then back up to Haystack.
Yep.
So, this time I'm going over the northeast side of Marcy and then across, toward like the Haystack Hole.
Yep.
Like north of Little Haystack, right? And I remember being really pissed that the trail there actually dips down. You go like kind of all the way down partially into like the Johns Brook Valley, just a little bit, like maybe like 200 feet. And then you go back up to get like where Haystack connects to the Great Range. And I just never done that section of trail before, and I wasn't expecting it. And that that like 300-foot uphill just like, killed me. I was so mad.
Yeah, I know exactly what stretch you're talking about too. Yeah. I remember it from hiking that trail myself on the Great Range Traverse. I know exactly the 300 feet you're talking about. Yeah, it's up. Yeah. It goes up. That's for sure.
Yeah, it goes. I mean, it's like it was like a real climb, which I was just not mentally prepared for that at that point, and it hit me hard. But yeah, then I drive. So I get to where the Haystack Trail meets the Great Range Trail, drop pack. That there's another one of my favorite sections where you go up and over Little Haystack and then traverse to the Haystack Tree Summit. I just love that section. And then tag Haystack at 8:00. This is now full sunset at this point. And then descend Haystack and then over to Basin, and just like now I'm just like grinding the Great Range, and it's dark. So I go up Basin at 9:15, and then Saddleback Cliffs, which I love. Usually I love the Saddleback Cliffs. I was definitely a little afraid of them this time because my legs were toasted. There's that spot where you actually have to like climb for just like there's like one move of like real climbing.
Yep. I know. Yeah, I know the exact move you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah,
for sure.
And that was so hard, like because my leg, I have my full pack. I'm so toasted, and my legs are just dead. And that was really hard, but I managed to do it. I think it took me 2 or 3 tries, but I managed to get over that spot. Up, then just like up the slab Saddleback Summit just before 10 o'clock. It's like 9:54. Then Gothics, Gothics is steep. You got the cables, but it's like relatively straightforward.
It's steep though. I mean, at that if you're tired and you're it's in the dark, and given the time of day and what you've already been doing, that's a tough stretch too.
Yeah, that was the first time I really used the cables on Gothics, because usually I'm like doing it relatively fresh in the daylight. I'm like, I don't need no stinking cables.
Sure.
Like I'll just like lean into the slab and cruise up. But yeah, I used the cables going up Gothics.
Nice.
And yeah, so I reached kind of the top, basically the summit of Gothics, although it's not like the true summit at like 10:45, and where it meets the trail that goes over Pyramid to Sawteeth. And yeah, and I was just like, I'll just like real quick go out and tag Sawteeth. Like it'll be easy. I've never actually done that. I've done quick. Sawteeth before, but I've never done the traverse from Gothics to Sawteeth and back. And yeah, so I was like, this will be real quick. And yeah, it was rough.
Only that pesky pyramid in the middle there.
Yeah.
Making it difficult.
Yeah. Well, and it's like mostly downhill getting to, it's like you go from Gothics, like you go like down and up a little bit, then it's mostly down. And then it's when you turn around and you got to go back up. That's exactly. Rough. And yeah. And I've listened to your previous interviews with like people who have done the Adirondacks FKTs. And I've noticed like pretty much everyone says that traverse from Gothics to Sawtooth and back is like, unexpectedly just like the worst part, and I kind of agree with that.
It's grueling, and it's a character building peak to grab for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So I finally let's see, I was 10:45 at the turnoff for Sawteeth. It's 12:30. So I get to Sawteeth at 11:40, so an hour to Sawteeth, and then actually less than an hour coming back. So I'm 12:22. I get back to the Great Range Trail and I just crash. I'm like out of steam. I'm cold. It's midnight. It's, I'm over 4,000 feet. It's windy. I was freezing. I just crash. I actually just like set up my bivvy for like an hour. It's just like in the middle of the trail. And I slept for an hour, right on top of Gothics. It was so cold. But I needed the sleep, and getting up after that, I was like, at least like could stand up straight. And so then I just, from there I just go. So I left Gothic Summit at like 2:15. There was definitely some downtime in there where I was like trying to eat and stay warm, but like wasn't sleeping, and like, I don't know, just like lost some time there. But yeah, I left Gothics at 2:15. And yeah, the lower Great Range is like pretty much a cruise. 2:43 to Armstrong, 3:10 Upper Wolf Jaw, 3:30 down to Wolf Jaw Notch. It's 3:30 at this point. It's 3:30 in the morning. I'm tired. I'm planning to camp I know there's a tent site by Wedge Brook, which is like maybe a mile down the trail, towards the AMR from Wolf Jaw Notch. And I'm like close enough that I can like smell the campsite. So I cannot do Lower Wolf Jaw right now.
Wow.
So I'm just like, I'm going to come back and do Lower Wolf Jaw later. Which was all sort of like my original plan was to, do a big loop. Day 4 is a big loop from the Wedge Brook campsite. And then day 5 started with going over the Wolf Jaw Notch into the Johns Brook, towards Johns Brook, and then Big Slide. So it was, it was very little. It's basically just, do I want to do the out and back to Lower Wolf Jaw now, or do I want to do it in 2 days? And at the time I was like, yes, I will do it in 2 days.
Sure. When I saw that on your itinerary here, that was my first thing that had me raising my eyebrow, like, how interesting. But then as I continued reading, I said, oh, that makes perfect sense. He could just quickly tag it from going from where you're set up here. Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
It is kind of funny though, right? Because, it's just like, it's the Great Range, and it's like only like probably half a mile up to Lower Wolf Jaw, right? Yep. So it's, it's not that much, but at the time it just felt like it was too much for me. So, and I was tired. So I kind of like stumbled down to the Wedge Brook tent site. If I remember correctly, there was someone already camped there, but, I just set up my bivvy kind of on the other side of the tent site and, just crashed, slept for, I don't know, 2 hours maybe, get, food and water, then sleep. Yeah. And so I got into the campsite just before 4 a.m. And then I think I woke up at like 6 and then, or maybe 7. And then I left the campsite the next morning at 7 a.m.
Now, did you have an alarm set each time when you'd wake yourself
Yeah.
up? Okay.
Yeah. I would do phone alarms.
Yep. And then let me ask you this. So the alarm goes off after that day and day 3. You had 2 hours of sleep. Kill me. What was going through your brain when that alarm went off? Was it like, oh no? Or was it like, okay, let's go. Let's do this?
It was definitely closer to, okay, let's go. Like, it was
great,
definitely
great.
like, it was hard. I probably did snooze at least once. I don't specifically remember, but I was ready to go. Like I said before, through all the highs and lows, like the entire time, I just never doubted that I was gonna finish it. I just knew that I had it in me, and there really was never a doubt. So I was definitely not thinking of quitting.
That is the mindset of a champion. Very cool. And you did it. So obviously it makes sense. But all right, so day 4. Another big day, 40 miles and about 17,000 feet of elevation gain.
Yep. So day 4 is actually like a bigger day than the previous day by miles and vert, but I would say, well, and it took me longer, honestly, but it's easier because I'm just leaving my base camp at Wedgebrook. So I leave my sleep stuff, I leave my bear canister, just carry my running pack and like 1 day's worth of food. And I do it's a big loop. Just go down. So, down from Wedgebrook to Lake Road through the AMR, up to Colvin and Blake, and then Nip-Top Dial, and then Dick's Range, and then all the way back. But day 4 was another great day. I was moving, really slow at this point. I don't think anyone ever passed me. I saw a lot of hikers up like Blake, Colvin, Nip-Top Dial. Because that was kind of like the peak out hiking hours of the day. I was just kind of like dead man walking, but like at the same time, I was not going to stop. So I was moving slow, but managed to get it done. So I left camp at 7:30, summited Colvin at just before 10 a.m., 9:48, Blake at 10:30. Back over Colvin at 11:30. I remember, Blake going back over Colvin sucked. I distinctly remember suffering through that.
It's rough. It's rough even if you're just doing Blake and Colvin, let alone where you are in this day.
Yeah. I should say I forgot. So I kind of I screwed up my water a little bit. I should have gotten like filled up on water when I like lower down, like kind of closer to Lake Road, like in Gilbrook. But I sort of I thought that there would, like, the trail looked like it kind of paralleled. I'd never done this section of trail before, right? And it looks like it kind of parallels Gilbrook pretty closely. So I was like, oh, I can just like drop into the brook and, get water like whenever I need. But it turns out that it's kind of like 100, maybe 60 to 100 feet above the brook most of the way up that ridge, up to Blake. And so, or sorry, up to Colvin. And so I didn't get water. And I, like, right at the intersection between where the trail branches off, either go up Colvin or over to Elk Pass. The first time, it's like before I'd even summited Colvin, I stopped and like refilled water from like the smallest little trickle coming down like one of the slabs. Like, it was basically like a mud puddle. But I remember refilling my water from that. And then again, after tagging Colvin and Blake, and then back over, filling my water up again from that spot. And then go over to Elk Pass, and there's water there. But yeah, water was a challenge this day, at least for this section, right? Because it's high and dry, most of that ridge, and it was a hot day too. It was like probably pushing 80 at least, and sunny. And like, I remember as I was going up Nippletop from Elk Pass, I like took some mud from like a cool spot like under a tree and like slathered it on my face because I was like really overheating.
Okay, smart.
So that was like really graceful.
Now, were there any times like during this day where it's like really hot where you thought back to, man, remember when I was